Well, hello and welcome to the Friday show, folks. This is the Walk Off. I'm Scott Belford, joined by Adam Mack, best co-host in the biz, both of us coming to you from Edmonton. No, not together, still separately. This is where we're most comfortable, some sort of barrier between us.
Yes, sir.
I'm performing at the Edmonton Comedy Festival this weekend, so 2 shows tonight, 2 shows tomorrow. The best of the fest I'm on. I'm hosting that one at 7. I know.
Nice.
Ooh. And then
Ooh, tip of the cap,
uh
Scott.
the late night show still has some tickets available. That is going to be at the Arts Barn just off White Ave there. And if you're looking for some entertainment, the late show is the best of Alberta. So all of the Alberta comics on the
There
festival.
you
I
go.
mean, the festival has comics from all over the country, but yeah, kind of cool to be on a show with 4 other Alberta comics that you're like, all right, I came up with these
Nice.
guys. This is great.
Nice. Nice. Can you name drop? Is that allowed?
I can name drop. We've got Ben Prue, who,
Nice.
yes, Benjamin, Andrew Gross, kind of
Mm-hmm.
that seasoned vet presence there, right? Then we have
Yes.
um, names are escaping me. Now you really put me on the spot here. I really thought I was gonna pull it off, Adam, and like I got in too deep, and I'm like,
Oh my
uh-oh,
God.
I gotta,
That's
yeah.
fine. We'll just cut all of this right from
We'll
the
cut
show.
all of
Let's
this
we'll
right
cut all
out.
of this. All right. Drop it up. All
Uh,
right.
Lots to talk about today here. Obviously, Major League Baseball 2024 season coming to a close, the final season of the year for the Blue Jays and for the other 29 teams. So we will talk the Jays versus the Marlins and their final home series of the year. We will get into the catching position. Alejandro Kirk looks like he is, if nothing else, a suitable number 1 catcher. He may not be one of the best, but you know what? He has done a lot over this season to remove any question marks about his defense, about his throwing arm. He has looked about as good defensively as any catcher in baseball. And then we did talk a little bit on mailbag. I called him a below average offensive catcher, and that got some pushback. So
I can
I will
see.
defend. I will defend my position, and we'll get into Kirky here. We'll also talk the fourth outfielder position for next year because I truly do think when Dalton Varsho is healthy, he's obviously going to be manning center field. George Springer and his albatross of a contract, there is just nothing you can do except maybe eat the idea of he's your fourth outfielder if a guy pushes through. But this organization, we've watched what they've done with Springer over the years. He is going to be given some rope to start the season next year. He's going to be in right field 95% of the time for April and May at least. And if there is, a guy like Nathan Lucas or Addison Barger or Joey
Yeah.
Loperfido or Jonathan Clase, whoever that fourth outfielder is, I think it will be an internal option. So we'll kind of dive into that a little bit. Rowdy Tellez, DFA'd
Rough one.
from the Pirates with 4 plate appearances left before hitting his 425 plate appearances in a year bonus of $200,000. So one
Uh-huh.
game. And I brought this up at the start of mailbag before I even got into your folks' questions and comments, kind of posing to you what you thought of this. Was this business? Is there too big of a deal being made out of this, or is this just an organizational black eye that the Pirates are going to need to move forward into this offseason and could affect their ability to sign free agents? So we'll dive into what you thought, and obviously now that Mr. Mack is here, get to hear what Adam thinks. The Minnesota Twins. Holy cow. Like it just honestly seemed going into September like the Twins were in.
Mm-hmm.
They basically could not be knocked out of the playoffs, is what it felt like. They had a 10-game lead going into September, and here they are eliminated. The Detroit Tigers have just done pretty much the impossible. So we'll dive into that. We'll talk some Guardians and the 4 Canadians that they're carrying. And then we'll also touch on Oakland and their final series at the Coliseum, their last game yesterday, putting up a W. So, on that, let's dive in. Last series of the year for the Toronto Blue Jays. They did eliminate the Boston Red Sox on Wednesday from their playoff hopes. Took them all series to do it. It's been a rough end to the season for this team. They were on a 5-game losing streak, finally eking one out against the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah.
3 games left. They started with a whimper. They're ending on a whimper. Is there anything that you even care about seeing in this Marlins series? I know that it's tough to, in my opinion, it's tough to just say none of this matters.
Okay.
But a little bit, none of this matters. Like, where are you at on just what this Marlins series even means? Like, are you going to put any weight if any of these kids have a huge series?
And I would just be looking at contracts and if anybody has like a plate appearance incentive cash prize that they're going to hit this series, maybe give
Cut
them
them.
the week
Yeah.
off. No, yeah. I mean, it matters for like injuries
Yeah.
because injuries can happen at any time, right?
Hmm.
The wins mean nothing. The performances mean nothing. Like it's just
Do
nothing to me.
you still want to see effort though?
Oh yeah, like all these scrappy kids,
Yeah.
for sure, it means something to them.
Hmm.
But I don't think,
Because
practically
really,
speaking,
I,
there's no
I,
level of evaluation that goes like, "Hey, Bowden Francis had another good game in Miami to end the season. All right, pencil him into that 5th spot for next spring." Thank God he had the great finish in Miami. It's
would you agree, Adam, that it's in Toronto, but
sorry, yes,
I'm
okay.
only bringing that up so we don't get comments.
Oh, we still will.
We still will. Um, would you think it's fair to say that there's no real green flags that you can see in this final game, but there are red flags? You know, like
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah,
you're almost hoping these guys don't do something that you're like, why would you do that with 3 games left, right?
yeah. Like I don't want to see any like leaping into the stands, risking bodily harm,
Yeah.
effort catches, but also I
I
don't
don't
want to
want to
see
see
any
some
of the
guy.
kids not trying.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to see Vladdy bailing over the right field wall there in
But I
foul
also don't want to
territory
see
going
I
for it.
also don't want to see Addison Barger dogging it down to first on a ground ball, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly. So like, yeah, he summed it up very well. There's no green flags possible, but there are red flags. I don't know.
grounds crew, let us know, where are you at on this final series of the year? It's so funny, man. It doesn't really matter how this team does in a year. I still get kind of melancholy at the end of the season where I'm just like, oh man, like baseball's done. Like, now how am I going to spend the majority of my time with my wife? Right?
No. Um, I guess if there's something that I'm like rooting for to happen in the next 3 games, I just would like to see Vladdy get 200 hits.
Yeah,
He's 3 shy. He can do that. He can get 3
that
hits this weekend.
I think he can get 3 hits this weekend. That's really cool. I didn't know he
So
was quite that close to it.
yeah,
Um,
197 right now. So
man, he
the
has
first time in
just
his career, career high
yeah,
in his MVP season was 188. Um, so yeah, it's a 200. We like milestones.
200 is a very impressive milestone, by the way,
Yeah.
for everyone out there who doesn't play Immaculate Grid. Sometimes that's a question that comes up, and it will blow your mind the names you can put into those squares that just never had 200
Never hit
hits in a
200. Eh?
year. Literal Hall of Famers you can put in there, never 200 hits, right? As soon as guys start getting these big, beefy home runs and RBI totals, normally the hits fall off a little bit, right? Because you're sacrificing some hits for power.
Uh, um, Bo Bichette, by the way, who led baseball in hits
Yep,
twice in
never
2021 and
has never done it.
2022, never got 200 hits.
Yep,
191 is his career high.
yeah,
So yeah,
pretty impressive.
it's cool.
It's very, very cool. So go, Vladdy, go. On that, we will move on to talking some Alejandro Kirk in catching position here. Kirky, we're all aware of his downfalls, which speed, not very
Hmm.
flight of foot. Going into the year, there were some definite question marks around his arm and being able to stop the running game. And honestly,
Hmm.
those question marks are gone, in my opinion. He has done a
Okay.
very good job of keeping runners in check. His caught stealing rate is right where you want it to be. Okay. Average to above average. Honestly, Kirky's only downfall right now is he's not the offensive juggernaut that you kind of felt like he could be in 2022. I bring up Kirky here because I know that there was some real pushback from a comment I made on Mailbag, which was that
Yep.
Alejandro Kirk is a below average hitter.
Okay.
I could
Factually
just
correct.
I could just address Mish, who obviously Kirky is
Got a
her
spot in
little
her heart.
Kirkulish. She absolutely loves that dude, but she was
Yeah.
not the only one to reach out. So I am going to address this in general. Yes, Alejandro Kirk is red hot right now. He is, I think, on a 16 game hitting streak. And if he's not, it just ended. He has been red hot in September.
Okay.
That's not how baseball works, though. Unfortunately, I'm just literally going by the full year numbers. I love when Kirk is hot. I think that's fantastic. As much as we just talked about this series coming up not meaning anything, seeing him do what he's done in a month does mean something. It means something for his confidence. It means something moving into next year. And this is also a guy
Hmm.
who's only 25 years old. I know there's question marks around his body and how much he can move around and stuff like that, the longevity of that sort of frame, blah, blah, blah. Kirk's weight shit has been talked about for,
Yep.
since he was called up.
Yep.
But
First
let's
career
talk
triple this month.
first career triple. Love seeing that hustle out of him too. Man, Kirky rounding second there, just all of his body parts flailing all over. Loved it. Let's talk his numbers. If you want to pull up his stats for 2024 here, and just we all know he won a Silver Slugger in 2022. He was a top five catcher in baseball offensively.
Well, to acknowledge the September he's had, we'll start with that.
Yeah,
In 18 games in September, zero home runs, but he does have the triple and a 303 batting average,
mm-hmm.
uh, with a 424 slugging, which contributes to a 767 OPS. Yeah, if he's given us 750 OPS all year
Yeah,
long, we'll take
beautiful.
that.
Absolutely.
Um,
Just a reminder for people too that the average OPS in 2024 is sitting right around 700. I think it's 704 right now.
so Kirky's OPS on the season, 680.
Yeah,
So
which is
OPS plus, which adjusts it where what 100 is the
100
league
is average.
average.
Yeah.
So plus or minus from 100 tells you whether you're above or below average or league average. And he's at a OPS plus of 94. So
Again,
factually correct. He is a
factually correct.
below average offensive hitter.
Now, I am going to give Kirky credit because I will say this. I think everyone has come to terms with the fact that the catching position, if you get any offense out of it, you're ahead of the game. Very much like number one defenseman, very much like number one defenseman in hockey, very much like high end bullpen guys. Back end guys, there's just not enough for every team to have one, right? So if you have a catcher like Real Muto, that's such a unicorn. It's so rare to have a guy who's going to slug and then also be a very good defensive catcher. So, you know what? If Kirky can give us offensively what he's doing this year, continue to look as good defensively as he has, I'm actually just fine with Alejandro Kirk taking the ball 4 out of every 7 games in 2025. I would love a catcher that would complement him, where his weaknesses are, maybe this other catcher's strengths are.
A Reese McGuire type.
A Reese McGuire type, if you will. Sure. A nice,
Uh,
solid left-handed catcher.
um, I I think I always took this for granted about OPS plus. I don't know where this seed got planted in my head. I thought it was positional. It's not.
No, it's
It's
not.
just league average. It should be
Yeah.
positional, or there should be a
It would be interesting to see the OPS adjusted for catchers, right? Where
right.
you're just,
Like if he's a 96, okay, he's below league average. But if every catcher except for JT Realmuto and if there's
yeah.
three
And Adley
that are at
Rushman.
110
Yeah,
and everybody else are at like 60 and 70, then all of a sudden you go, hey, we got a great catcher
one of the
offensively.
best offensive catchers in the league. And I
So
would love to see, I'm sure there is a stat out there.
yeah,
And if there's not, I'm sure there's something that's comparable. And
yeah,
so if the grounds crew out there wants to enlighten
yeah. Let us
us,
know
show us what
where
idiots
we
we
can
are, and
start
point
looking
us in
for
the right
positional
direction.
OPS plus.
Yeah, perfect.
But yeah, Alejandro Kirk. I think I'm coming around on him from where I was. I still miss Danny Jansen already,
Yeah,
but Danny also couldn't stay healthy.
he
So
couldn't. As much, and man, and we defended his injuries for like 4 years on this podcast, where we're
yeah,
like, they're bad luck. How many times can a guy break his hand? Turns out once a year, pretty much, when it comes to Jano. Like, just for whatever reason, the ball found exposed areas and put him on the IL. And the catching position takes a lot of bumps and bruises.
do you want Danny back next year, or are we moving on from the
That is
Danny
a
Jansen
really
experiment?
That's a really good question. And actually, right back to the grounds crew, please drop your comments. What do you think? Do we want Jano back? I love Danny Jansen. I know you do too, Adam.
Mhm.
It's so rare that you get a guy that has been with the organization for over a decade, knows all the coaching staffs and all the affiliates, knows all the players on all the affiliates, developed within the organization. There's a lot of reasons why Danny Jansen is a good fit with this team in 2025. But there's also the argument to be made of how many kicks of the can do you want Kirk and Jano getting here, right?
Mhm.
And maybe just a different presence behind the plate is something that should be explored in 2025. And when I say that, I'm definitely not talking a Tyler Heineman or a Brian Servin type of catcher. And that is, I say no offense to them. And Adam goes, no, well, no, offense to them. But so I'm not sure. I don't know who's out there on the free agent market that would fit well with this team. My guess is that it's probably something in trade is the way this can be bolstered in the most efficient way possible. We'll see
Yeah.
how it rolls out. That's another thing that I was getting roasted about from the mailbag on Tuesday is I guess I was saying we'll see a lot, and it's just, man, there's so much uncertainty with this fucking 2025 Blue Jays team.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you make predictions and feel confident without being like, but also, we don't know. We'll see what
Mhm.
happens.
Um, OPS plus Danny Jansen this year, 88.
Okay. So Kirky
Alejandro
leading the way.
Kirk, remember, is a 94.
Yeah.
Adley Rushman, superstar offensive catcher,
Yeah.
108 OPS plus.
There you go.
So the ceiling isn't that
Yeah.
sealed. Reese McGuire, OPS plus, just because we mentioned him earlier and he
Yeah.
has his Jays connections, 61.
Right.
The top free agent catcher this year, James McCann with the
Hmm.
Orioles this year, 91 OPS plus.
So just another Kirky.
Just another Just another Kirky. Bo Naylor, Canadian kid with the Guardians. I know we're going to talk Guardians here in a second. Catcher, OPS plus 76.
And honestly, if you start rolling through all of the rosters throughout Major League Baseball, this is what you're going to find is that the majority of catchers are, we talked about it, right? They're below average hitters because there's so much on their plate, right? They
Mhm.
are constantly being fed data, constantly being fed analytics, constantly sitting down with player development and with the analytic team, working out strategies for how these pitchers are going
Mhm.
to face the hitters on every team. Like there's a lot on these guys' plate, and I think that's why just and we've seen it
Maybe
happen
that's
more
the
and more.
pushback then. Is
Yeah.
is he below average for the league? Yes. Is he below average relative to all of catchers? He's
No,
probably a top 15 catcher.
he probably is.
Maybe a top
So,
10. Maybe top 5 after looking at this
and dude, this is why
random
I wanted
sample
to talk
size.
this. This is
So
why I
sure.
wanted to talk this a little bit because I did want to like clarify that I am not shitting on Kirk. I am well aware that he is in the grand scheme of things an above average catcher in this league. Whether you
Mhm.
like him or not, whether you address his Achilles heels or not. And yes, obviously he has some downfalls, but he's been durable. He continues to improve defensively, and those are two things that young catchers don't always have going for them. Improving on the defensive end of things and staying on the field. We talked Jano. Danny Jansen, I think if you had some runway with him, could really truly be a above average catcher offensively. And I mean in the grand scale of things, right? Like against his
Mhm.
OPS plus would be above 100. But if you're every time you get hot, you get injured, that's tough.
Good stuff. Um, yeah. All right. Well, that's enough on the catcher
Yeah. Let's talk our
topic, I
favorite
think.
let's talk our favorite Toronto Blue Jays topic that we're going to get to talk literally all off season long. Who is going to be the fourth outfielder on this roster in 2025?
Oh
Adam,
God.
please hold back your excitement. Everyone can't take this sort of exuberance out of you. Um, it's not really a sexy topic, but it is a topic that is going to get some airplay because there's actually a lot of guys vying for that final spot on the roster. So Dalton Varsho definitely going to be the center fielder when he comes off injury. And from all the reports, he got the surgery done. It's why he was shut down before the end of the season to give him as much runway to be healthy come the start of the 2025 season. Dalton Varsho going to be imperative to this team if they truly do want to be successful and contend. George Springer, we kind of touched on it. Albatross of a contract.
Uh-huh.
You can't move him. And I think there is Looking at the
He's
past,
owed 50 million over the next 2 years.
he's owed 50 million, and if you look at the past and the way this organization has treated George Springer, it is with the utmost respect, and they have given him all the leeway in the world, and I don't see that changing at least until mid-season next year,
I
or
don't
if one of
get
these
it.
young guys literally force the Blue Jays' hands to start putting him on the bench more. That's a lot of money to sit
I
on the
don't
bench.
I don't get it though. Like I don't know. Sorry. All the reverence that this organization has for George Springer, I don't get.
Yeah.
Like he is a good, not great player in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm just
Yeah, you
like
know
the
what,
way
man? It's
listening
really
to you
hard to
talk about
argue
how
that.
this team it handles him with nothing but the utmost respect. It's like why? He's not like Mike Trout, like
I think we're
I-
going to get
he's
into
done
this.
nothing for the Blue Jays, by the way.
No, he
Any
hasn't.
accomplishment he has been for Houston, and depending on who you ask, namely my dad, come with a pretty big asterisk,
Yeah.
which that's a fair conversation to have.
Yes.
All of his best numbers came in the middle of one of the biggest cheating scandals in baseball.
I will say too, the intangibles, you know what?
He's got a great smile. He can sell the fucking shit out of an Uncrustable. I'll give him that.
Listen, and that's what I was gonna say is the intangibles get talked about a lot, like he's bringing something special to the table, and you know what? I don't mean to diminish his clubhouse presence or the respect his
Man, I tell
teammates
you,
have for him and all that.
I would have as good, you know what, better, dollar for dollar, better clubhouse presence than George Springer.
Yeah,
And I would do it for a lot less money.
you would. You light up a room everywhere you go, Adam.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. If you can get past the sound of me clicking a keyboard,
And that was kind of my point, dude. That was my point. Is that yes, these intangibles matter, and yes, to be the leader in the clubhouse is a big deal. But also, when you're being paid $25 million a year, it
it's not
kind of
enough.
comes with the territory, right? Like you want
Yeah.
your best, highest paid players to be those guys. So
I
he
mean,
doesn't get a free pass on that. But I just don't think, and I want the grounds crew to chime in here. Like, is there a world where George Springer isn't the everyday right fielder starting in April 1st, 2025? I don't see it.
well, I would have had this same conversation about Vernon Wells 15 years ago, but
Yeah,
we somehow managed to trade him to the Angels.
no, it's true. Maybe the
I
Angels.
would I would eat 60% of George Springer's salary just to get out from under him.
Wow.
He's
But
useless, man.
yeah, and it does open up a really important spot, and that's something I'm sure this organization is looking into. It has to be. Now, left field is an interesting spot, but honestly, left field is a position where this team needs to go out and fill with a big bat.
Yeah.
Whether it's a Anthony Santander and you're paying big money, or you're out there, looking into Jock Peterson for a fourth year, whatever it may be, you
Yeah.
need a free agent bat in that left hole, and then you can fill the fourth outfielder position with Nathan Lucas, Jonathan Clase, Addison Barger, Joey Loperfido. Man, I have over the last couple of years never given Nathan Lucas enough runway, I think. Because I'm always the first to be like, look at his age. Look at his age. And I've
30
been
years
doing
old.
this
Okay.
30 years old. I've been doing this for 2 years, right? Like, look at
Mhm.
his age. He is what he is. But now I'm starting to be like, maybe he is what he is, but is he an above average bat that plays left, right, and center? He might be. I know that this is a short sample size, but why don't we go over what he has provided for this team over the last month since getting the call up?
All right. Well, on the season, he's got a 118 OPS plus, 760 OPS through 68 at bats. So very small sample
Very
size.
small.
Um, yeah, that's. I thought he was with us earlier in the year. I didn't know he just got called up August 30th. He
So
feels like
he's
because I know he played with us last year, didn't he?
yeah. Yeah, he
Maybe
did.
that's
So
what's in my brain, is it feels like he's just been in the mix
and he has
of
been. He's
guys.
been in the mix for 3 years, technically. So he was
Right.
called up last year, and then he suffered that injury and wound up just rehabbing most of the season. He got called up in April, did not play, got sent back down to Buffalo, broke his hand. Um, you know, all he has done at AAA is hit. So this 300 average we're seeing, this 770 OPS we're watching right now, this is not out of the ordinary. This is what he's done his entire minor league career, or at least the
But is
last
it
couple of years.
sustainable at this level, Scott? That's the question.
I don't
Like
know.
this is it all looks good until someone watches the game tape on him this offseason and goes, "Oh, he cannot lay off of sliders down and away."
Yeah. There's a readjustment coming absolutely from the league. And the other thing I find myself thinking too is like Nathan Lucas is like the prime candidate to just be let go by the Jays, picked up by the Guardians, and then all of a sudden he's hitting in the 3 hole, putting up an 800
Sure.
OPS, and you're just like,
Sounds about
good
right.
Lord, how did this happen? Right?
Sounds
Like,
about right. Um,
but there is the argument to be made, should the development time be put into a Jonathan Clase, 22 years old, or an Addison Barger, 24 years old, right? I don't know the
yeah,
answer.
Nathan. Okay, so Nathan Luke's some numbers that I'm not thrilled with. Um,
Lucas, by the
zero.
way. I'm
Huh?
just saving comments. Everyone's going to comment, but it's Nathan Lucas.
What did I say? Luke's?
Yeah. I know you know this, Adam. I've heard you say Lucas before. I'm just
Sometimes, Scott, here's the trick. Sometimes I have to bastardize a white person's name so that I don't be
so it looks like
accused
you're
of being
doing it.
racist when I butcher a Latin name. Okay? So, Nathan Luke's, you're my sacrificial lamb. Um, zero home runs.
He's not a power guy.
So
Boy,
the
we've got a lot
OPS
of
of
those, Adam. We've got a lot
760,
of those
yeah, the OPS of 760 comes from
singles.
uh, singles. Yeah, two doubles. Sorry, three doubles in his time up. So he's not a doubles machine either.
Nope.
Does have two triples, which I think also inflates
The
his on
OPS.
base percentage plus slugging. But I don't think triples are a sustainable stat where you can just go, yeah, this 31-year-old's going to hit two triples a month for the rest of his career.
I will say that Lucas has wheels. So that's another skill set. He gets on base, he has wheels, and he
Okay,
doesn't
I'm
strike
going to
out.
stop you there. He's 30.
Yeah.
I'll take wheels on a 24-year-old. I don't want to hear that argument on a 30 who's going to be 31-year-old next year. I know that doesn't mean he's just going to instantly be slow next year, but he's definitely on the wrong side of 30 for a guy who's one of his best assets is his speed.
Yes.
I just got to get that out there. Um, yeah, so I don't know. For me, fourth outfielder, maybe not everyday left fielder. Like
No, no, he can't. And this is
there's
what
no
we were
power
saying.
in his bat.
Yeah.
Like we just can
So
he be oh, what was the why can't I think
Raimel
of the name?
Tapia.
That's the one. Yep. Yep. You got it. You got it. I was trying to think of a way to describe him that wasn't going to get me into trouble. And you went with his name, and that worked great. Um, yeah, can he be Tapia? Sure. But I think Tapia overachieved in his time with the Jays. Like I think we're blown away by what he did with us. Like our expectations for him were so low.
Yeah,
How could he not overachieve?
yeah.
Right? But I don't know. I'm not like let's go out and get Tapia again to be our
No.
fourth outfielder, right? Um, man,
So let's pose the question.
here's the
Who
best case scenario for me going into next season is George Springer like torn ACL in February, done for the year, and we
Yeah,
just have
force
like
it forces the
just
Blue
force
Jays
us
front
to eat
office's
that
hand.
money
Yeah,
and move on and be like, okay, we gotta do something else. I mean, we're not gonna do anything else. It is just gonna be like Jock Peterson in left field, and then a combination of Nathan Lucas and Joey Loperfido in right field. Like, we're not gonna go out and
yeah.
get a legitimate second corner outfielder, which is frustrating. But I'm over the George Springer experiment. I think I'm totally off that bandwagon. Is that too harsh?
I don't think it's too harsh. It's tough to like again, and I'm not even talking George as a person. Like I think he fits in great with this club. He's been fun to watch. He's a very charismatic guy, but like at the end of the day, he hasn't got it done, man. And he's being paid an exorbitant amount of money to be the man, and he hasn't been the man the entire time on this team. And I know I will give him credit for 2021 because he was injured for half the season. I think he only played 79 games that year, 77
78,
games,
yeah.
78. There you go. Um, and when he did play, he played very well.
Mm-hmm.
But the Blue Jays really did move worlds to make sure that he was no longer in center field. And now we're in this really precarious spot because of it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see this team competing without going out and having a power bat in the outfield. And that's
Agreed.
also on top of bringing in another bat for the infield somewhere, right? Like whether it's third or first or whatever shuffling of the cards Ross and Mark decide they want to do,
We're two weapons away, you
we're
think?
two weapons away. Yeah, we're two weapons away. So this is the question then for you folks at home, the grounds crew. Who would you like to see as an internal option as the fourth outfielder? Are you a Nathan Lucas person? Jonathan Clase, 22 years old. He just got called up and has made his Blue Jays debut over the last week. Ever since Dalton Varsho was shut down, he hit his first major league home run. He has speed, he has power. Can he put it all together in the big leagues? That's still a question mark, though. So that's where my question is kind of like, do you go with a Nathan Lucas where you're like, okay, 31 years old, we probably know what he's going to do without any major readjustments? Or do you go with a guy who is going to have more bumps and bruises along the way? However, his ceiling is probably higher and he's almost 10 years younger. I don't know what the answer is, but it's going to be interesting. Addison Barger, I mean, he has more positional versatility. So maybe he can be that Whit Merrifield. He plays a lot of second. He plays some third. He is out in right and left field, you know. Joey Loperfido is the other guy that I think is vying for that spot. There are going to be some major moves made. I think it wouldn't even surprise me if three of the four of those guys we just mentioned are wearing different logos on their jersey at the end of or at the start of 2025.
Yeah, I mean they're all lefty bats.
They are.
Clase is a switch hitter on
Yeah.
top of it, but
Which is something the Blue Jays don't have currently outside of Stuart Baroa, who is another guy you could probably even throw into that.
this team's so bad, man. Ugh, this is not a fun roster to deep dive.
No, no.
This
Okay,
has to be a big off season. It just has to be. If there's no,
they need offense, and this is not new. This is not new, man. This is 2 years in this problem. And a complete different bullpen. All right. Let's talk Rowdy Tellez here.
Mhm.
Former Blue Jay. Of course, that's where Bowden Francis and Trevor Richards came from. Was
Mhm.
Rowdy to the Milwaukee Brewers, who he hit 35 bombs with them at one point, one season. Sufficient lefty bat. Everyone knows what happened to Rowdy, which is the Pirates released him 4 at-bats away from getting a $200,000 bonus. And I've seen numerous takes on this. I know Jeff Passan on the Pat McAfee show yesterday or whatever came out and
Yeah.
he was like, you know, everyone's talking about how Rowdy got screwed, but I don't think it's about how Rowdy got screwed. It's why is this Pirates ownership group even going out and getting Rowdy Tellez to play first base? Why are they scraping the bottom of the barrel with these low term, low dollar projects? And yeah, that's a question too. But I really do think that muddies what happens. It's kind of dismissing how bad Rowdy got fucked. So my question for you, Adam Mack, and I know this was posed on mailbag, and for the most part, the responses were it's business, but the Pirates also have a black eye on this whole thing. And you know damn well if there's an organization out there, Mr. Mack, that is going to
Mhm.
go for a project, a player that maybe had a down year and they're hoping finds it again. It is the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Mhm.
So why are you going to cut your feet off like that? You know, like it's just if so here's my question to you then, Adam.
Okay.
And I'll let you take the floor.
Okay.
If you were a free agent fringe player looking to rebuild your value and you have 3 teams vying for you in free agency, if one of those organizations, let's say the Pirates, did what they did to Rowdy Tellez, which was literally save $200,000 and screw a guy over who his OPS I think his OPS plus is like 95 or something like that. Like he is slightly below average,
That's
but
91 right
also
now with a negative 0.4 WAR. But yeah,
but
go
he
ahead.
also played there the whole year, right? Like this is so obviously a cut just to save the money. So if you're a free agent, Adam, does that play into your thinking? Like even if they have a slightly higher offer, are you trepidatious of the Pittsburgh Pirates?
Like it's not really a fair scenario. Okay, we're asking about uh, a journeyman player looking to rebuild his value on like a 1 year deal. So like already is someone who's not performing well. Um, it's I mean, like my gut reaction when I first read the headlines the other day was like, oh, that's shitty of them. Like, but then like there is I mean, it's a cliche, but like that's business, baby.
Yeah.
And like that's also correct. And like if Rowdy Tellez still got $3.2 million,
Yeah.
that was his base contract. He had incentives at a bunch of different plate appearance totals. It was like
425,
425,
450,
450, 475, 500. Like there was
500.
escalators all the way up, right? This was the lowest, I'm pretty sure,
Yeah.
of his
It was.
incentives.
It was.
And it's like, is the timing of it give you the ick as a fan? Sure. But also, like, okay, you're 421 plate appearances into the season and you're giving me an OPS plus of 91. as a first baseman.
Yeah.
Like where we were talking catchers earlier and how like 91 OPS plus for a catcher turns out pretty good.
Yeah.
You're not an MVP, but like as far as catchers go, pretty good. You can't say that about a first baseman. Like first
No.
baseman
No.
needs to be
If
much
you're not
better.
above,
So
yeah, if you're not above 100 as a first baseman, you're just a detriment to the team without a doubt.
there, he's been a detriment to the team for 400 plus plate appearances. There's an argument to be made. He's lucky he stayed with the team as long as he did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It would be different for me if he was. What's he been hitting for the last month? Let's look at that because maybe that is
Yeah,
a
maybe
factor.
that's, yeah.
So let's go back to um, August 15th. Let's just do middle of August here until today. 218 batting average, 694 OPS.
So what he's done all year long.
Yeah, like he's not on a hot streak. He's not exceptionally bad. He's just doing what he's been doing.
And they need a guy to play first base. Like it does completely feel like it's about the money.
Yeah, but I don't have a problem with that. Like,
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, they can do whatever they want as an organization. However, I do kind of feel like if you're going to constantly be the organization that is going for these reclamation projects, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot by doing this to a guy who's a reclamation project, right? Like it is a
so
red
should the
flag.
Jays go out and pick him up then?
No.
So it doesn't matter then.
Well, it
If
doesn't
I'm
matter
just
to the
saying,
Jays.
no, 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 no. If you can do ill will to like player relationships by cutting a guy with 4 plate appearances left before a bonus, why don't the Jays pick him up? Give him 4 plate appearances, pay him 200,000. Think of all the
Well,
goodwill they'll get.
yeah.
No, that's ridiculous. Like, of course not.
Yeah.
So, like, is
So you
four plate
don't you don't
appearances is
you
four
don't
plate
think
appearances worth 200,000 or not? Because the Jays would get goodwill. Oh, look how fucking this was their guy. Like they drafted him, he came up with the Jays, and they did right by Rowdy Tellez. They picked up his contract and they donated two
you're
hundred thousand
muddying
dollars
this
to.
all up. This is has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the Pittsburgh Pirates. It has everything to do with free agents and how they view that organization.
But you're saying that there's a negative view towards the Pirates
Of
based
course
on
there would
this
be.
behavior. So
I
what
would
I'm
say so.
saying is the Jays
Yes, I get
could
what you're
get
saying.
the opposite. If it's that big of a deal, why doesn't a team like the Jays or whoever be like, hey, we'll go pick you up for 4 plate appearances in the last weekend and give
Okay.
you free money? But no, but the idea that like, whoa, that's just a waste of money for the Jays. It's a waste of money for the Pirates. That's my argument.
And all I'm saying is that it's not a waste of money for the Pirates because for the Pirates, it shows other free agents that they're not going to literally throw you in front of a bus the second the waters get choppy. And I
The second the waters get choppy, he's at a 650 OPS for 100 days.
so then why not fucking cut him in July? Like, why use him until right up to the
I
final last thing? I'm just saying I can't see it not affecting the view from reclamation projects out there. If there's numerous teams
I
vying
think
for them, why would you go with the team that just and listen, I'm not even saying this is going to affect them in free agency because in the end, the big time free agents are going to go where the money is the most plentiful. What I'm saying is the Pittsburgh Pirates are dumpster divers. They have been a fucking
it's
garbage
true.
organization for
You're
years,
right.
and if you're going to survive on scraps, why are you going to poison the well you're getting the scraps from?
It's true. That's true. That's true. I'll give you that. I just don't think it's Rowdy
And you know
Tellez
what?
has come out and said
It's
he'd still come back to the Pirates next year.
And this is what I'm saying. Like, you're right. I will give you that. I
They're
do think
dumpster. Here's the problem with dumpster diving. Like the projects at the bottom, the
yeah,
only teams looking at them are the Pirates.
yeah, which is also a
So they've got a weird
organizational
leverage.
flaw of theirs. Yes.
Like, I don't know. But like that is like, again, this is where I don't know what Rowdy Tellez's agent situation is, but
Mhm.
this is like the importance of having good agents to help like structure contracts in a way where it's like you, if you're worried that you're not going to get your incentives, structure your contract differently. Like, I don't know, man. It's cringy from like yes, the optics of it like look bad to like cut a
Yeah.
guy that close to an incentive, but like this literally happens every single month in professional sports. There's this kind of a story, whether you're a relief pitcher who didn't quite get your innings or like it's just that's
No, I agree that this
it
is
is the
probably being
business and
blown
it's
out. It
just
is. It's being blown out of proportion for sure. It is. But I still
I
think,
don't I think if I don't know, never mind. I was gonna say if Rowdy Tellez didn't play for the Blue Jays, I don't know if we even have heard of this.
well, that's pretty big news around the league right now. But
I don't
all
know.
right, should we talk the Minnesota Twins?
Yeah, they suck.
So they were 10 games up in the wild card race, August 27th. 1 month of baseball left, and it really did look like stick a fork in the Tigers, they're done. And what has happened in the last 30 days is, I mean, it's what sports movies are made of. It's what
Mhm.
feel good stories are made of. And it blows me away the Twins collapse so heavily. Like they're eliminated from the playoffs. They're out.
Mhm.
They're done. Led that AL Central division almost all season long. I mean, there's other examples of collapses. The Seattle Mariners had 10 games up on the Astros, but that was mid-May. That's a little different. The
Yeah,
New
that was
York
early.
Mets, the New York Mets were 10 games back of the Braves. But again, same thing, right? We're talking mid-May.
Yeah. I know this is a very recent collapse.
And I really do wonder what this does to that organization. Like, where do they go from here? How much has this affected the clubhouse? And is there a reason? Is there something going on that we don't know about? Like, because that's what these sort of collapses bring to the questions up, right? Like, whenever you see this sort of collapse and there's just like these intangibles, you're trying to like pull the threads of them to see, like, how do you go from a good baseball team to one of the worst in the league?
Yeah. How I don't know where'd they finish last year?
They finished,
They won the division, 87 and 75.
and then they beat us in the wild card spot.
Right.
You're like, right. I blocked that
Yeah.
out. Um, Grounds crew would love to hear your thoughts on the Twins and even a comparable. Can you think of a collapse at the end of the season that was kind of like this? They happen, but God, that's got to be tough on the Twins fan base, man. It just
Yeah, I
seemed
don't
like a
know.
done deal.
I don't know enough of what went wrong if they were just losing or if they had injuries or what, but
Hmm.
I'll be the first to admit I don't follow the Twins
And
at
this is
depth.
why no one's
So,
really talking about it, dude. Is the AL Central kind of out of sight, out of mind, right? Like it's
mhm.
not really ever going to be the main focal point of Major League Baseball media. You know, the AL East gets so much
Hmm.
attention because of the Yankees and obviously the NL West because of the Dodgers and the
Hmm.
NL East because of the Mets and the Braves and the Phillies, you know, but the Central divisions tend to get forgotten a little bit and the Twins have been off the radar. So really it's just that Twins fan base that is aware of how epic of a collapse this is, but it is
Hmm.
gross.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad for sure. I don't know. I'm
All
not a
right, buddy.
Twins guy, never have been, even with them playing against us in the playoffs and things going the way they did. So I don't I'm all for it.
Before we move on to our final topic and just talking Oakland and the fact that that was their final series at the
Hmm.
Coliseum and that they are leaving to play at minor league stadiums in Sacramento for
Hmm.
the next 3 fucking years, the whole Oakland thing, we'll get into it here, but
Hmm.
let's talk the Guardians really quickly here while we're talking
Yeah.
the AL Central. The Guardians finishing at the top of that division, obviously. A 92 and 67 record currently as they go into their final 3 game set of the year. They are definitely one of the teams that is going to get a bye, even if they lose all three and the Astros win
Hmm.
all three of their final games.
Can't get
They
caught.
are moving on to the division series. So a very impressive season from the Cleveland Guardians,
Hmm.
who have 4 Canadians currently playing on this roster. And that was why we wanted to bring it up. So, Cade Smith, rookie, possible even. There's arguments to be made. He could be rookie of the year with the way he has thrown for this
Wow.
Guardians team in the bullpen. He's been a big reason why that bullpen has been so shut down. I mean, Emmanuel Clase is also literally like putting up historic numbers right now. But
Hmm.
Cade Smith, then you got the Naylor boys, right?
Hmm. Bo
Bo
and Josh Naylor.
and Josh Naylor. And then you got an Edmonton kid.
Edmonton kid, Eric Sabrowski. I don't know if I'm saying that right or
No, you
not.
actually are. He played in the Dogs organization before he was picked up by an American college. So very cool. 4 Canadian
Nice.
kids on this roster. We were trying to find it before the show started. Is there another team that has had 4 Canadians on their 26 man and we haven't been able to find it? But if you are better at researching baseball nerd stats, please drop your comment. Let us know. Have
Yeah.
there been 4 Canadians on a major league roster before? I know the Blue Jays have had 3 numerous times, but
Yeah, there you go.
yeah. Okay.
I think Guardians are going to be my team for this
Yeah.
postseason. I
Yeah.
think I'm going
I
to get on
think
the Guardians bandwagon. I was
yeah.
between them and the Royals, but I think the Canadian content is enough of an excuse for me to justify that bandwagonage.
You
So,
sold me. I'll join you.
all right, sounds good. Sounds good.
All right, last topic before we wrap this up. We are getting a little long in the tooth here. Just a reminder, Edmonton Comedy Festival. If you are in E-Town Friday and Saturday, I'm playing the Arts Barn tonight, and then Arts Barn and Spotlight tomorrow. Come check it out if you're around. Self-promotion done. Let's talk the Oakland
There you go.
Athletics. The
All right.
A's with their final game at the Coliseum yesterday, putting up a 3-2 win. Mason Miller getting that save to wrap things up. Big celebration of everything Oakland yesterday. It was kind of a sad day just seeing everything. A few things that like made me laugh though. Ricky Henderson sharing stories about the Oakland Athletics, and then they're like, "So does this make you sad?" And of course, in true Ricky Henderson fashion, he's like, "I can't be sad. I have too much money to be sad. Ricky has too much money to be sad." Just like, okay, Ricky. But the way that this has all gone down, dude, it is really, it's just disheartening. It's just disheartening. I'll read a Jeff Passan tweet here from
Okay.
yesterday. He goes, "The Oakland A's were killed by greed. Do not allow the people responsible for this to spin it in any other way. John Fisher did not have to move this team. Major League Baseball and its owners did not need to be complicit in this. This was a choice. This is about money, a wrong one. History will sneer." I mean, tough not to argue, right? John Fisher is moving this team to literally Sacramento for 3 years so that he can get in to Vegas, a spot that still has question marks around it. Every time I listen to nothing personal with David Sampson, he keeps reminding you, things can still go sideways in
Mm-hmm.
Vegas. They're doing all of this
Yeah.
fucking shit to have a free floating team playing in a minor league stadium in Sacramento. And this is all based on the fact that the city of Oakland will not build the stadium for this billionaire for free. Whereas Vegas has been like, sure, we'll build a stadium. Don't you worry about it. You make all the money, we'll build the stadium. And that's really the crux of what this whole thing is about. Oakland is such a storied franchise. You have so many incredible players that came through there, starting at Reggie Jackson. And speaking of Reggie Jackson, he even had the better bid to buy the team in 2006 when John Fisher bought it, but was literally fucked by Bud Selig, who did not put the paperwork through the proper channels, and it went to Fisher. Why that was? I mean, you ask Reggie, and there's race relations involved, but I went down a rabbit hole on YouTube of Reggie Jackson videos, him talking about this. And if you ever have a few minutes to actually kind of delve into the muddy waters that was that sale in 2006, do it. It was incredibly interesting, and I had no idea about it. And Reggie Jackson is such an iconic baseball man. He's so well spoken, and he loved Oakland so freaking much. And it's just so disheartening to see this billionaire that is making these decisions not based on the fans, not based on the city that they have been a part of, the fabric of for 70 years. It just, I don't know, man. I know that it's business in the end and blah, 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 but what a shit sandwich for the Oakland Athletics fans.
Yeah, like they also, I know like 5 years ago, attendance was like still towards the bottom 10 of the league.
Yeah.
They were still getting like 20,000-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're getting like, for the last 5 years, they're like dead last by a mile. They're getting
Yeah.
like 7,000 fans a game, 9,000 fans a game.
Yes.
Justify that to me.
Well, it's
Is it just a chicken or the egg thing? Like the fans are off the
I
hook for not going to the
no,
game
I really do believe, Adam, and I could be wrong in this. I really do believe that if there was a new stadium, they would have been there. Or even if there wasn't all this talk of them moving, they would have been there. Like, especially this year, man, like the attendance was a
boycott.
planned, like, yeah, protest.
So this year, attendance in Oakland, 11,500 per game. Last season, 10,200 a game. 2022, Oakland, 9,973 per game. 2021, Oakland, 8,767 per game.
Man,
I
that's
don't,
bad.
it's not good. Like, I mean, is it John Fisher's fault for like forcing the fans to not have a product worth watching? Like, I
Yeah.
guess there's an argument to be made there, but also like,
The Coliseum's garbage too. Like, it's a bad stadium. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know, man. I do get the
yeah, I
money
don't know.
aspect of it, and obviously you can't expect John Fisher to just take a bath every year, but I don't know,
I
man. There's so
guess
much.
the follow-up question here. Sorry, as I yawn here. Um, does Oakland ever deserve another shot at a team? Right? Because that's the common question once a team's gone, right? Does Montreal deserve another Expos? Right? Like
Well, friend of the show, Anthony Telford, former
pitched for the
Montreal
Expos.
former Montreal Expo. He was Nate Pearson's offseason
Pitching
pitching
coach when he was
coach.
good.
Yeah, he was very, very generous with. In fact, Telly's a guy we should probably reach
Yeah.
out to and get back on the show in the off season here. But his opinion on it is no.
Yeah, you lose a
If
team,
you lose a
too
team,
bad.
it's baseball is a game of three strikes, but when it comes to losing your team, you get one. What do you think,
Uh,
folks? Do you think that Oakland should be revisited as an area, even in expansion later on, if they can get a deal done with a stadium, or do you think this is their final kick at the can?
I'm of the 30-year rule that like
You're out for 30
there's
years. We can
you're
bring
out for
one
30
back.
years.
Yeah.
Well, there's a bunch of 30-year-olds in Montreal now who
Had nothing to do
never
with
had
the
a
failure
chance
of
to buy
that
a ticket.
franchise. Yes.
Yeah, right. So if they want to support it, cool. I go ahead. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think yeah, I don't know. Oakland, it sucks because like every team's leaving Oakland. The Oakland
Yeah.
Raiders left. They already went to
Yeah.
Vegas. It's
Yeah.
it's
The
tough. Yeah,
Warriors went across the bay,
yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So
So
let's leave it on that. Big thank you to everyone who is watching. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Um, Mailbag on Tuesday. We will tackle a bunch of these comments of yours. All right, folks,
there you
take
go.
care of yourself. Enjoy your weekend. Cheers.